Get ready for 4 creepy tales about social media gone wrong. A girl obsessed with her boyfriend's Instagram has a terrifying encounter. A grandson finds his late grandma talking to his dead grandpa online. A TikTok viewer gets lost in the app's warped reality, and a Snapchat user is stalked by a sinister presence taking intrusive photos. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the most true horror stories, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload twice a week. So please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. It had been a week since Greg left for his family vacation in Greece, and I was missing him like crazy. He was my boyfriend of 6 months, and this was our first time apart for more than a couple days. I tried to put on a brave face as he was leaving, but the truth is, I was a total mess. "Make sure to take lots of pictures," I said, choking back tears as we hugged goodbye at the airport. "Keep me updated so I can see all the fun you're having without me." Greg gave me an understanding smile. "I've got a surprise for you. Check your Instagram." I pulled up the app on my phone, and sure enough, there was a notification that I'd been followed by a new account. The profile picture was of me kissing Greg's cheek. Despite my sadness, I couldn't help but smile. Greg had always dismissed social media as silly, but now he had joined just for me. Over the next few days, I became obsessed with checking Greg's Instagram feed. Each day, he would post photos documenting his vacation adventures. There were shots of him at the airport, on the plane, exploring Athens with his family. It made me feel not quite so lonely, like I was still connected to him even from halfway around the world. I made sure to like every picture and leave encouraging comments. "Miss my hot boy," I wrote a shirtless pic of him at the beach. On a cute photo of him and his mom, I gushed, "Your mom is so cute." One evening, Greg was able to call me for the first time since arriving in Greece. We chatted dreamily about how much we missed each other. When I asked him to keep posting on Instagram, though, he seemed confused. "What do you mean about that guy in the background?" he asked with a nervous laugh. I had no idea what he was talking about. I just reiterated how much I loved seeing his pics and how it made me feel closer to him. Greg quickly changed the subject. The next day, I eagerly checked his Instagram again. Most of the photos were typical vacation shots, but one made me do a double take. It showed Greg with his sister Sarah and a girl named Karis. In the background lurked a shadowy figure. I couldn't make out any details, but its presence sent a chill down my spine. I left another enthusiastic comment, trying to play it cool. But that night, every creak in my house put me on edge. My imagination was in overdrive. When Greg posted again the next day, my hands trembled as I looked through the pics. The dark figure was there in every single one, subtly drawing closer to Greg with each shot. I pleaded with Greg in the comments to call me, but he just left a vague reply about not seeing what I was talking about. I started to seriously freak out when Greg's next post showed the shadowy form looming right behind him and his sister. It looked like it was reaching toward them with a long arm. Greg still wasn't replying to my texts, but then a new photo popped up that made my blood turn to ice. Greg and Sarah sat by a lake, eyes wide with shock. A hand clamped over each of their mouths, holding their heads in place. As I stared in disbelief, I could just make out the form of an impossibly tall, slim creature. The next photo showed only the empty lake, but I quickly noticed 2 bodies floating face down in the water. And standing over them was the shadowy figure. Panicked, I texted Greg over and over, begging for a reply. Finally, he responded that everything was fine. It was just a prank. But when I asked him to send a selfie, the photo he sent made my screams echo through the house. It was Greg and Sarah, drowned, suspended underwater. Between them floated a bald creature with bulging yellow eyes and a too wide smile. It held a long-nailed finger to its lips, then blinked slowly at me through the phone screen before turning to swim away. Greg and Sarah's bodies were found at the lake the next day. The police ruled it a tragic accident, but I knew better. I had seen that thing in the water, and the image was seared into my mind. Worse, when I look at the selfie I took for Greg, I can see the creature's reflection growing larger in my eyes with each passing hour. He's coming for me next. I'm too terrified to sleep, worried I'll wake to see him looming over my bed. I should never have looked at those Instagram photos. I should have trusted my gut when I first saw that figure. Now Greg is gone, and the demon is inches from having me too. All because I needed to cling to him through social media. I just hope that when it takes me, my death is quick. The clicking of my trembling fingertips on the keyboard was the only sound in Grandma's dark, empty house. I stared at the glowing computer screen, a growing sense of unease swirling in my gut. I scrolled through Grandma's Facebook timeline, bile rising in my throat. There were her latest posts, conversing casually with Grandpa, the husband she had buried over a decade ago. Their digital voices called out to each other from beyond the grave, the exchange punctuated by old photos of the couple in their youth. I shuddered. This was no act of sentimentality. The responses from Grandpa's account were too rapid, too coherent. Someone, or something, was puppeteering his online identity. I remembered my last visit to Grandma's house, weeks earlier. She had seemed cheerier than ever, welcoming Mom and I inside with a brightness in her eyes that now seemed sinister. What malevolent force had wormed its way into her life? The sound of the back door creaking open made my blood run cold. I slammed the laptop shut and crept to the window, pulling back the curtain just enough to peer outside. Through the inky black night, I could make out a figure crossing the backyard, heading for the house. It moved in a strange, jerky gait that clearly did not belong to an elderly woman. My heart pounded. I had to escape now. As the silhouette drew closer, I could see its limbs bending and twisting in ways that defied human anatomy. I clamped my hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. I had no idea what hellish creature was approaching, but I knew one thing for certain. It was not my dear Grandma. I heard the back door handle jiggle. The thing was trying to get inside. I scrambled away from the window and looked around wildly. I needed a weapon, anything I could use to defend myself. My eyes landed on Grandpa's old walking cane, leaning in the corner of the bedroom. I grabbed it with trembling hands. The heavy oak felt solid and reassuring. The jiggling at the back door stopped. A heavy silence hung in the air. I held my breath, gripping the cane tightly in anticipation. Suddenly, a thunderous banging shook the entire house. The demonic entity was throwing itself against the door over and over, violently trying to break in. The wood started to splinter. It was only a matter of time before it gave way. I rushed into the hallway, flicking on lights as I went. I had to get out of this house, but my only escape was the front door, also locked up tight. The banging grew frenzied as I hurried toward freedom. Just as I reached the front door, ready to tear it open, the noise stopped abruptly. An eerie silence descended. I stood frozen, listening intently. The thing must have gotten inside. My eyes darted around the hallway, searching for any sign of intrusion. Had it found another way in? The silence thickened, my raspy breaths the only sound. Then I heard it, a faint scratching coming from the ceiling above me. My wide eyes jerked upward. Jagged cracks were spreading across the ceiling, getting larger by the second. Dust rained down as the network of cracks expanded. Suddenly, a hole ripped open and a bloodied claw burst through, swiping viciously at the air. I screamed in horror and instinctively swung my grandfather's cane, bashing the demonic claw. It recoiled for a moment, then swung back toward me, faster and more furious. I battered the claw repeatedly as more of the creature pushed its way through the ceiling. Turning, I fumbled with the locks on the front door with trembling, slippery fingers. I had to get out before the infernal beast broke through completely. Just as I ripped open the last lock, an unearthly wail filled the house. I threw open the door and burst outside into the cold night air, the shrieking demon close on my heels. Sprinting down the moonlit path, grandson and grandfather together escaped the clutches of the heinous evil that had overtaken grandmother's home. The glow of my phone screen illuminated my face as I scrolled through TikTok. I knew it was a stupid app, just mindless entertainment, but I was bored out of my mind. Ever since my computer broke, I'd resorted to aimlessly surfing the internet on my phone. On this particular night, I stumbled upon a live stream by two teenage urban explorers in my city. They were on their way to an abandoned apartment complex, chatting excitedly. I rolled my eyes at their exaggerated reactions, but continued watching. Soon, they arrived at a decrepit tower block. Rubble and construction materials were strewn everywhere. The overgrown courtyard looked like it hadn't seen maintenance in decades. As they ventured inside, I heard a faint whimpering sound through my phone speaker. "Do you hear that? It sounds like crying," one exclaimed. His friend laughed it off as a joke. Their obnoxious banter was starting to grate on me. I set my phone down in frustration. Just then, a flashlight beam through my balcony door caught my eye. I parted the curtains to see two figures shining flashlights at the building. What were they doing snooping around this late? Before I could react, one of them started climbing onto my balcony. I rushed outside, yelling, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The teen tumbled backwards in surprise. Fuming, I grabbed a broom and went downstairs to confront them. They gazed at me in sheer terror, stammering apologies as they backed away. Their exaggerated fear confused me. I wasn't that intimidating. I told them to leave and they scrambled away. Puzzled, I went back inside. Then I heard their voices again. Impossible. I looked outside. Nobody was there. The TikTok live stream was still playing on my phone. To my shock, the hosts were recounting their encounter with a crazed squatter who charged at them with a metal rod. That was me. I stared in disbelief as a video clip showed my enraged face appearing on the balcony. Only the me in the video had long, messy hair and a wild beard. My guttural screams made me shudder. This had to be some kind of prank, I rationalized, some stupid app trickery. But deep down, I knew this was real. Everything lined up too perfectly. I rushed to the bathroom and checked the mirror. My clean-shaven reflection stared back at me, but for a second, I thought I saw overgrown facial hair. A cold draft blew through my apartment, making me shiver. When was the last time I'd gone outside? Interacted with anyone? Did anyone even know I still lived here? I retreated to the couch and began typing this all out, hoping to make sense of it somehow. But the more I write, the more I feel strands of hair brushing against my face and neck. I keep glancing around, expecting to see the filthy squatter from the video lurking in the shadows. Am I going insane? Is this decrepit building even real? I can't trust anything anymore, not even my own reflection. The only thing I know for certain is that I never should have downloaded this damned app. Now its warped reality is bleeding into my own. I've never been one for technology. For years, I was perfectly content with my simple flip phone. No fancy apps or social media for me. I just didn't see the appeal. But that all changed last year when I finally caved and got my first smartphone. At first, I was amazed by all the things it could do. My friends were thrilled that I was finally joining them in the 21st century. For those first couple weeks, I went crazy downloading all sorts of apps to try out. It was entertaining for a while, but eventually I lost interest in most of them. Well, most of them except Snapchat. Snapchat quickly became my new addiction once David and I started dating. He loved using it to send me funny or flirty pictures and messages throughout the day. It gave our relationship an exciting, secretive edge that I enjoyed. One day at work, I got a notification for a blurry snap from David. I couldn't really make out what it was. Probably just a mistake. Later at dinner, I jokingly asked him about his butt snap. He had no idea what I was talking about. Chalking it up to a glitch, I moved on. Over the next week, I got a few more odd snaps from David's account. Pixelated close-ups I couldn't quite decipher. weirdly angled selfies where I could barely see his face. I teased him for using strange filters, but he always seemed confused when I mentioned them. Then came the snap of the parking lot, the petite blonde walking to her car. That was unmistakably me. David must have secretly taken it that morning when I left work. I was impressed he managed to pull that off without me noticing. His pranks were getting more elaborate. The day only got weirder when I headed home. After parking a few blocks from my apartment, I got another snap, this one of me getting out of my car just moments earlier. How did he do that without me seeing him? I scanned the area but saw no sign of David. As I walked down the empty street, my phone buzzed again. 2 new snaps awaited me. The first showed my kitchen table with ingredients for the pasta dinner I had planned. The second displayed that odd darkened selfie of David with the caption, "I am not cold." Puzzled but amused, I laughed it off and kept walking. But then came the snap that stopped me in my tracks, a shot of me strolling down this very street just seconds ago. The caption read, "I like you." I nervously picked up my pace. How was he pulling this off? Was he following me? Spying on me? My heart pounded as I rushed home. Bursting through the front door, I found David in the kitchen, haplessly trying to boil pasta. Apparently, he had been home all along, not orchestrating some elaborate stalking scheme. After dinner, when I asked him about the snaps again, he seemed truly baffled. That night, the creepy messages continued, even when David was asleep beside me. Shots of me in intimate moments I knew no camera had captured, distorted close-ups of my face, ominous captions professing affection. I screamed and shoved the phone at David, but he slumbered on, oblivious. Turning my flash on, I started demanding answers from the unknown Snapchat stalker. "Who is this?" No reply came. "How are you doing this?" Silence. "Please stop," I begged into the darkness. Finally, a message appeared. "I'm sorry, Sasha, but I cannot do that." Cold panic flooded my body. How did this person know my name? I asked why they were terrorizing me like this. And then came the chilling response. A photo of me in bed, David dozing next to me, taken just seconds before from inside my own bedroom. The caption whispered, "Because I really like you." I hurled the phone away from me and screamed. David jolted awake, yelling and fumbling for the light. As the room flooded with brightness, I shrieked that someone had been spying on us, taking photos, sending messages. David grabbed my phone and swiped through the bizarre snaps, his face draining of color. Frantically, we checked the doors, windows, corners, searching for any hidden cameras or microphones. We scoured the phone for spyware. Nothing. The apartment seemed untouched. Those vivid images had been taken by no earthly device. We didn't sleep that night, or the next. I jumped at every buzz of my phone, every flickering shadow, and I knew, deep down, that whatever sinister presence had invaded my Snapchat was still out there, watching me, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge from the darkness into flesh and blood. Its twisted devotion made hideously clear in those 2 simple words that would haunt me forever. I like you. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed these 4 true horror stories about social media. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video with your friends. And if you have any scary stories of your own, feel free to send them to me at my email address in the description below or in the comments section below. I might feature them in a future video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. You can also follow me on social media in the description below. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe and stay scared.